Chapter 3. Take a Walk on the Thai Side. Thailand was built on compassion. Bhumibol Adulyadej. What can I possibly say about the place known as the Land of Smiles that hasn't already been wrapped in a travel guide paperback, filtered through some influencer's smoothie fueled blog, or declared life changing by a backpacker who rode an elephant and now sells himself as spiritually evolved? I don't know, but I'm going to give it a shot. With the help of journals, questionable memory, and a deep love for a place that's equal parts reverent, reverent, magical, and ridiculous, hopefully you'll get a glimpse of the wonderful world that is Thailand. Thailand, the kingdom, the exotic, and yes, depending on where you point your sandals, the erotic. Thailand wasn't just my first step into Asia, it was a deep dive into a sensory kaleidoscope, a place where the normal, the sacred, and the profane exist on the same block. Monks gathering alms at dawn, a pharmacist helping a tourist get over Bangkok belly, and neon lit bars full of women offering questionable massages by nightfall. That cultural whiplash is part of its charm. My obsession with Asia started early, fueled by a silver on black silk sewn drama mask my father brought back from Korea, a war souvenir that hung on the wall like a haunted invitation to mystery. It stared at me through childhood, whispering tales of foreign lands, spicy, exotic food, and mysteries far beyond my experiences. By the time I landed in Thailand, I'd already spent years marinating in San Francisco's heady Asian communities and Seattle's International District, eating dim sum and noodles, wok fries, and rice in every form known to man. I wasn't just chasing exoticism, I was chasing something honest, something real, and maybe a little unhinged. I wanted to eat the food, meet the people, and not be that tourist complaining that the Wi Fi in paradise was too slow. And thanks to my stubborn streak, I was determined to stay off the well trod tourist conveyor belt. So why Thailand? Part research, part instinct, but primarily because I found a Theravada Buddhist monastery that didn't look like a cult or a resort. I wanted the real deal. I wanted to live within the culture, not float above it with selfie stick in hand. What I've learned from earlier travels to places around the world can easily be summed up. If you treat people with dignity, honor, respect, and genuine curiosity, they'll meet you halfway with a smile and sometimes a steaming bowl of something that might change your life or kill you. Either way, it is memorable. But where to start? At the beginning, I suppose. Before June 23rd, 1939 AD, shrouded in mystery and history, the Kingdom of Thailand was known as the Kingdom of Siam, derived from various linguistic interpretations of Siam or Zayan ethonyms. The region has been continuously inhabited for over 20,000 years, give or take a few sacked kingdoms. The place is old, with a capital O. Archaeological evidence, granaries, drop pits, home remains, ritual ceramics, and fire pits shows waves of civilizations. The Mon, the Khmer, the Lao, the Chinese, of whom the Thai are thought to be part of through linguistic roots, the Burmese, all leaving their fingerprints on the land, art, architecture, food, the peoples who integrated with one another, and language. It has been recognized under a variety of names since it was the kingdom of Sukhothia, founded in 1238 AD, when the political structure shifted from a wealthy city servicing the rice and spice traders and Silk Route travelers into a political entity under the rule of Si Intharathiat. Before that, and stretching way back in time, the region, well, with shifting borders and allegiances depending on who sacked who that month, was known as the Kingdom of Funan, which was the first mighty and omni-powerful Southeastern Asia kingdom dating back into the 2nd century BCE. You feel it. not just in the stones or statues or endless wats with names that sound like arcane magic spells, but in the eyes of the people. And yes, Thailand is the land of smiles. That's not just tourism board fluff. But those smiles, they're not all the same. There are at least 13 officially recognized types of Thai smiles, from the I'm genuinely happy to see you broad grin to the you just did something idiotic and I'm politely pretending otherwise smirk. You learn to tell them apart if you hang around long enough, and if you make a complete mess of a Thai phrase in public, you'll earn a few of them at once. Something about all those smiles to note. Because smiles, yim, are used throughout Thai communicative expressions, it is a subtle system full of nuance and meaning that, unless you grow up within the culture, let's just say the differences can be easy to miss or misinterpret. There's the teasing smile, mischievous and playful, the awkward smile, somewhat forced in an uncomfortable situation, the flirty smile when trying to catch someone's interest, the respectful smile showing admiration for the receiver, the discreet smile used to shy away from intention, an embarrassed smile. We all know that one. The polite laughter smile. We all know this one too. The secretive smile, hiding message and meaning except to those in the know. The genuine smile, obviously heartfelt and joyous. The fake smile, which I observed many times as rude tourists demanded something without courtesy or respect, also used a lot during haggling negotiations. The polite smile, which is professional and formal. The apologetic smile, showing regret. And last is the hesitant smile, which is subtle, wary. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but everywhere I traveled, the vast majority of locals I ran into and the interactions I had were that beautiful and heartwarming real smile experience. If you're not a difficult tourist, and please, don't be that person, you'll almost always be greeted with Yim Tok Thai, the genuine smile that lights up faces and rooms. The Thai are funny, sharp, curious, and disarmingly charming. They will laugh with you as much as at you, which is honestly the best kind of laughter. Miscommunication becomes its own language, equal parts pantomime, Google Translate mishaps, and blind faith. There's something delightfully human about fumbling your way through a conversation with a smile and a shrug and ending up with a new friend over a shared plate of something delicious. I love the tantalizing mystery that comes when traveling in a country where you don't speak the language. Thailand turned that mystery up to 11. Every country I've visited where English wasn't the primary tongue has been a wild mix of hilarity and humility. But Thai took the cake, ate it, and then politely handed me back the plate. The oral language is nuanced, tonal, sometimes brash, sometimes elegant. But to my untrained ear, it might as well have been Romulan spinning riddles. With five tones that can change the meaning of a word entirely, one wrong pitch, and instead of saying hello, you just proposed marriage or asked if you could have sex with a lawnmower. Plus, there are 12 recognized regional dialects, mostly branching from Isan and Lana cultures. So even if I did manage to say something correctly, odds were decent the listener would just smile politely and walk away very confused. And the written script? It's mesmerizing. Swirls, dots, loops, and curls that look like they were hand drawn by a calligraphic octopus with a flair for the dramatic. Take the Thai word for seafood restaurant. It's beautiful, right? It looks like a title or a stanza in a poem or get off my lawn. Reading signs, menus, labels, none of that was happening. Thai doesn't use Latin characters, and the structure is wildly different from English. There are also high, middle, and low script characters, which adds a bonus round to the confusion. Thai was, for me, the equivalent of a linguistic Mount Everest. And yet, there's charm to it. Thai has this built in structure. Case in point, krab and ka, gendered polite particles you append to everything if you have any manners and grace. Swadati krab if you're male, Swadati ka if you're female means hello, sir or ma'am, like verbal punctuation marks of courtesy. It's sweet, thoughtful, and a total minefield when your accent is bad enough to make every child within earshot giggle. I didn't have months to embrace the language, and frankly, given my track record with foreign tongues, I needed years and a brain transplant to get even an inkling of comfort with so foreign a communication structure. So I focused on the essentials: greetings, thank you, delicious, I'm sorry, may I have the check, where's the bathroom, and a few noble attempts at, with great respect. The rest, lost to the wind. My pronunciation was a wrecking ball, and people laughed at me. With repetition and some gentle corrections, I got better. And when in doubt, there was always a magic trifecta: a real time translation app, a friendly smile, and a willingness to act out whatever I needed with the gusto of a silent film actor on espresso. Here's a real life example. My first full day in Bangkok, and already I was mosquito feed. Fresh off the plane, smelled fresh meat. I earned a few bites while lounging by the hotel pool and immediately activated my pre departure plan: secure high powered skin melting bug spray with enough DEET to give a forest cancer. I didn't care if DEET had been banned in half the civilized world. It's either that or dengue fever or malaria, and I don't like jaw locking fevers unless they come with dance numbers. Off I went, first to the nearest 7-Eleven. It was 20 feet away, where everything was labeled with great detail in Thai. No bug spray leaped out at me, unless it was playing hide and seek in the antifungal section. I left with a pack of gum and ventured down the street until I found a giant hypermart, the kind of place where you can buy a mop, durian, a model airplane kit, and a motorcycle helmet all in one aisle. After some wandering, I zeroed in on the long personal hygiene aisle: shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant, hair dyes, false lashes, mystery creams, check. Mosquito death juice, nowhere to be found. I wandered the aisles when I spotted a young man at the end stocking shelves and gave him my best "I need bug spray, help me not die" look. He blinked. I blinked. He shrugged. Then the universal sign for "I have no idea what you just said, but wait here." He held up a finger and vanished. Enter backup. He returned with a young woman who looked thrilled to be dragged into a foreigner's quest. I repeated my question. More blank stares. They looked at each other, then back at me. I could practically hear the sitcom laugh track in the background. It was pantomime time. I sprang into action, arms out, flapping wildly like a drunk pigeon, winding out a nasal zzz as I wobbled in circles, then nosedived a finger toward my arm, jabbed it, then scratched furiously like I was hosting a flea circus. Those unfortunate store clerks stared for a heartbeat, then burst into full throated laughter, nearly doubling over. It was the kind of laugh that makes your knees buckle. They beckoned me down the aisle. I'd just won charades for Team Mosquito Bitten Tourist. Moments later, I was inspecting two bug sprays as the young woman earnestly pointed to the percentages of DEET on the back label like a pharmacist. Victory. As I was checking out, I heard more laughter. The same young woman was now reenacting my mosquito interpretive dance for another store employee, pointing in my direction. They were howling. I waved, then bowed dramatically like it was a final curtain on Broadway. International communication achievement unlocked with bonus humiliation points awarded. Now that's fantastic communication. My point is, you should at least try and make the effort with the local language. If you travel to a country where your native tongue is not dominant, it's your obligation to work with the local language as much as possible. The onus is not on the locals to learn your language, and no, speaking your language louder and slower does not work. In fact, it proves to everyone around that you're an idiot. There's a cinematic richness to the everyday scenery. The street vendors with their rainbow umbrellas looking like candy colored mushrooms sprouting from the sidewalks. Motorcycles and scooters swarm like locusts, buzzing between cars, sidewalks, and wherever they can squeeze through. Power lines knot themselves in thick, chaotic webs above the street like a giant forgot to finish a macrame project. Bright gold Buddhas gleam in roadside alcoves surrounded by offerings of incense, lotus bulbs, cigarettes. It would seem that Buddha was a pack a day guy. Fanta bottles with red straws sticking out. It would also seem that the divine also has a thing for sugary beverages. Even the signage is loud and proud. Shop names curling in looping Thai script, flashing lights that blink with urgency, welcome or mystical foretelling. I couldn't always tell which. And then there's the constant background hum of life sizzling oil, hawkers calling out, a radio playing Thai pop, a rooster crowing at a whiny dog, and the ever present whir of ceiling fans trying their best not to give up in the heat. It's overwhelming in the best possible way, like walking through someone else's dream while mildly dehydrated. The architecture in Thailand is a full contact visual sport. It sprints from the ancient to the aggressively modern, from transcendent beauty to who greenlit this crime against eyes, often on the same block. Your optic nerves need a seatbelt and a welder's helmet at times. And if you're a minimalist, brace yourself. The Thai aesthetic does not shy away from color. In fact, it sprints toward it with open arms and a glitter cannon. Take Bangkok's new obsession with building cladding. This fever dream trend involves wrapping perfectly innocent, though plain Jane boring concrete buildings in jagged or flowing metallic exoskeletons anodized in acid trip hues as a public service to those who felt their day wasn't visceral enough. These futuristic facades often look like a transformer had a midlife crisis and crashed into a Home Depot. Not one of them was what you'd call elegant, but sure, the concept had vibes. I hope the trend doesn't spread. Then there's the traffic. Oh, yes, the lunatic fueled, unhinged traffic. Traffic, as a concept, is universal. It can be light, heavy, snarled, fast, slow, passable, or the kind of soul sucking crawl that tests your patience. Everywhere in the world has traffic issues, except Antarctica, although I suspect the penguins have their own waddling gridlock come mating season. But Thailand? Thailand doesn't have traffic. Urban Thailand is traffic. For the uninitiated, Thai drivers operate on the left side of the road like the Brits, Aussies, Kiwis, and the rest of the Commonwealth holdouts. But that's where the similarities end. Because in Thailand, driving on the left doesn't mean you stay on the left, or in a lane, or in any particular state of linear time. Thai traffic is a living, breathing organism governed less by rules and more by instincts, mood, cosmic forces, and a shared telepathic agreement that today's journey will defy Euclidean geometry. It is, at any given moment, an interactive high stakes ballet of cars, motorcycles, tuk tuks, thong thos, trucks hauling everything and anything, buses that somehow weave effortlessly in and out of the flow, and the occasional rogue dog. The experience is like riding inside a 5,000 piece kaleidoscope operated by a rabid squid with a fondness for pachinko. And yet, miraculously, it works. Mostly. Thai drivers seem to operate on some hive mind logic, where split second decisions are executed with such synchronized perfection that it's akin to performance art. No one uses their horns with anything approaching the relentless fury of, say, Mumbai, where honking is communication and punctuation. In Bangkok, it's all visual cues and peripheral awareness. So, what is it that keeps traffic in every town and city all around the world flowing in an orderly manner? Laws. Those rules of the road that we all learn when we get our licenses, no matter where we live. And then there's Thailand. Where I live, as I am assuming where you live, There are rules of the road that we willingly follow, not wanting to either die or cause death to someone else. Seems fair, right? Laws that were enacted to facilitate order and flow for the movement of vehicles, people, and goods, no matter what those vehicles may be, are a good thing. Cars, big and small, trucks enormous to tiny, adorable tuk-tuks done up in garish regalia, scooters, mopeds, and motorcycles, bicycles, tricycles, food and hand-drawn carts of infinite variety, all vying for space and progress. The objective being getting from point A to point B is usually the modus operandi, and it is through those agreed upon rules of the road that allow all modes of transportation to coexist and flow. Yes, there are rules of the road in Thailand. You can tell because someone went through the trouble of painting lanes and installing traffic signs, lights, crosswalks, and other manifestations of the desire for controlled movement, and to live to see tomorrow. And like everywhere, those signs are there to tell us how fast we can drive, where to stop, if you can turn, watch for pedestrians, etc. However, and this is just simple observation at work, it seems that once the driver slash operators of any sort of vehicle in Thailand gets their license, every one of those rules gets downgraded to a minor list of suggestions, and inconvenient ones at that. The roads in Thailand are a glorious symphony of frenetic energy, equal parts comedy, adrenaline rush, and vehicular roulette. Keep your wits about you or become a hood ornament. And it's not just the roads. Oh no. Sidewalks, alleys, restaurants, temple courtyards, and quite possibly living rooms all seem to be considered viable transit routes. Mind the cat and the toddler, please. Screw the coffee. Want a real wake up call in Thailand? Try crossing a 6 lane boulevard in Bangkok at rush hour without a walk signal. It's like playing Frogger, but with your life. There's an art to crossing a busy road in Thailand. It's called commitment, and the technique is all about the art of aggressive timing and concentration. Think ballet meets demolition derby. Now, if you're a rational human being with a healthy fear of rolling metal objects, you'll be relieved to know that there are options that don't involve risking life and limb. Major boulevards often have pedestrian overpasses, bridges for your feet. Or if you're lucky enough to be near a BTS SkyTrain or MRT subway station, you can use those as glorified over and underpasses, complete with the added benefit of snack bars and sometimes aircon. But sometimes it's either more practical or just morbidly thrilling to cross at street level. Why? Because you're already sweaty, slightly delusional from the humidity, and deep down you want to feel intensely alive. Thai drivers of cars and scooters are quite used to playing slalom games with pedestrians. Nobody blinks when a random human darts into traffic like a panicked squirrel. It's part of the ecosystem. That said, crossing a Thai road is not for the faint of heart. You will engage every neuron in your brain. Your fight or flight response will tap dance on your frontal lobe. If you are not laser focused, you'll end up part of the pavement, and not in a poetic travel blog kind of way. However, there's a method to your commitment. You observe the flow. Study it like a lioness eyeing a herd of springbok for the slow and injured. Scooters and motorcycles are your primary threat. Quick, agile, and slightly suicidal. Cars are next. Buses? They're too slow to kill you unless you really screw up. Then comes the big moment, the gap. The holy grail of urban pedestrian warfare. Once you see it, you must commit. No hesitation, no second guessing. If you bail halfway through, you're toast. And so is the poor soul who is trying to avoid slamming into you. Move it like you mean it. Straddle lane lines, slipping through spaces your logical brain insists are too narrow. And here's the magic. Once drivers see you're serious, they'll veer around you with all the grace of synchronized dance. For it is a dance. You do your part, they do theirs. Everyone lives another day. But if you flinch, if you second guess, That's when it goes sideways. So, yes, you could always use a crosswalk at the light or take the overhead walkway. But where's the story in that? Then there are the markets. Not the sad, half hearted kind we have in the US. You know, a parking lot with a couple of dozen stalls, some kale selling for $18 a bunch, a perfectly enormous leek that'll set you back $20, a woman named Melinda the Magnificent selling lavender sachets and pseudo wisdom, and that guy aggressively hawking raw honey out of a cooler. No, Thailand doesn't do markets like we do. Thailand lives markets, breathes markets, dreams in markets, then wakes up and opens another market. There's no way to measure the worth of Thailand's street markets in GDP points or sterile economic reports from my desk, but you feel it in the smoke, the shouting, the rhythm. But if you had to put a number on it, the country's informal markets, hawkers, night bazaars, roadside grills, quietly generate somewhere between 2 to 5 billion US dollars a year by estimate. That's not chump change. That's the lifeblood of neighborhoods, entire communities, the pulse of cities, the reason a kid in Chiang Rai gets dinner tonight. It's messy, it's vital, and flows directly into the pockets of people. It's also more honest than the malls where the retail revenue drops first into the corporate coffers. Day or night, the famed Thai street markets are an unrelenting assault of color, smell, sound, and capitalism. They are wild, glorious, and packed to the clouds with everything you could need, want, or never imagined existed. And for the most part, it's quality merchandise. Handcrafted leather goods and delicate jewelry, vibrant handmade umbrellas, sacred amulets, hand painted postcards, potted plants the size of young adults, hand sewn clothes you'll never wear again, and food. So much food. Sizzling and steaming from every corner like a street fair collided with a cooking show. And yes, nestled between the artisanal and the edible lies the shady end of the souvenir spectrum, the rayon elephant pants. You know the ones. Soft, billowy, loud, worn exclusively by tourists who left their shame back at the hostel. They're the unofficial uniform of, I went to Thailand and bought these ridiculous pants. But my personal favorite? Black velvet paintings. Yes, that medium is still going strong there. Right there in the middle of the market, beneath a canopy of string lights as smoke from the neighboring grilled squid stand floats through the crowd, a man is airbrushing a tangerine orange Buddha onto crushed black velvet like it's 1969. Elvis, Jesus, clowns, tigers, ballerinas, temples. It's a full velvet revival and garish. I love it. And then there's music. Every 100 feet or so, there's another band or solo act belting out tunes. Some traditional Thai, some 90s Europop, all slightly off key, but delivered with unshakable confidence and sincerity. The whole thing feels less like a shopping trip and more like a neighborhood block party designed by someone with synesthesia and an energy drink problem. The market prices? Ridiculously reasonable. So reasonable, in fact, that it blows my mind each and every time when tourists haggle like they're closing a multi-million-dollar real estate deal. Do you really need to knock 20 baht off that handmade bracelet, Karen? That's 59 cents. Less than a pack of gum. Sure, you may get your petty thrill of winning the deal, but that 20 baht actually means something to the vendor. It might pay for laundry soap or the tuk tuk ride home. You, meanwhile, will spend more on your next iced latte. Think about that the next time you try to lowball the vendor. Okay, yes, there is a different price for tourists. Of course there is. That is part of the dance. Locals get the secret handshake rate. You, the sunburned gringo in a tank top that says Pad Thai is my spirit animal, get the premium. And you know what? That's fair. You are incredibly lucky to be there. Pay the 50 extra cents. Smile, take your grilled banana leaf fish and your velvet Jesus home and feel good about the whole transaction. You will earn merits and experience less self loathing later. The markets, sprawling across a dozen city blocks or more, are a sensory riot wrapped in string lights. Picture it, a near endless grid of colorful booths and carts, each strung up with lights attached to anything that will stand still long enough. Lampposts, rooftops, a meditating monk, casting a warm glow over the entire bazaar. It's like Christmas, but with noodles, fried insects, and durian. The air, thick with the mingling aromas of 100 sizzling carts hawking everything from fried black scorpions to Michelin rated bowls of noodles. There's pad krapao, curries, pad thai, larb, pad see ew, fried rice, and mango sticky rice. Roti with bananas slathered in condensed milk. Fresh pressed fruit juices that punch you in the vitamin C receptors. And enough coffee and tea to caffeinate a military division. The brilliance, though, of Thai market foods lays in portion size. Small, smart, and engineered for grazing. No one is dishing out troughs of pad thai to share with your extended family. You can order that way, but no one does. This is snack and stride territory. You eat sitting down if you can find a seat at the ever crowded courtyard tables, but more likely standing up, leaning against whatever is nearby railing, tree, possibly a surprise stranger, and then dive back in for round two, three, four, and more, with no regrets. At the Chiang Mai Saturday night market in the walled old city, I succumbed to peer pressure and ate a large, glossy, black fried scorpion on a stick. Scorpios Chiang Mai, if you're Googling for nightmares. A fellow traveler saw me taking photos of the skewered beasts and asked if I'd tried one. I had not. He hadn't either. We dared each other. Since I am not one to back down from a dare that involved eating what could pass for a Sith Lord's house pet, he ate his like it was popcorn. I, however, gag crunched my way through the thing. Was it delicious? No. But it was crunchy in a disturbing yet satisfying kettle chip meets spider leg way. I do not recommend it for the flavor. Scorpion is like spicy cardboard with a touch of past due date crab and spam with an exoskeleton. But for the bragging rights, priceless. I rewarded my bravery with a bowl of Tom Yung Kung, a sweet sour prawn soup steeped with lemongrass, galangal, and kaffir lime leaf. 3 huge prawns, 8 ecstatic spoons of yummy, barely over $1. Then came 4 bite-sized Szechuan pork chops, bone-in, dipped in chili oil and a spicy sweet peanut sauce that should be declared a controlled substance. I wanted to get that sauce to go and put it on everything. The chopped crusts were shatteringly crispy, the meat inside juicy, and the Szechuan peppers hit with their trademark floral zap that makes your mouth feel like it is simultaneously freezing and being electrocuted. Bliss. I wept a little. For dessert, I had the single greatest mango I've ever eaten. An angel's cheek masquerading as fruit. Thai mangoes do not mess around. They are all sugar and perfume, and somehow always perfectly ripe, as if the mangoes themselves are in on the tourist seduction plot. Then a solo cup of fresh pressed high mountain orange juice, so tart sweet and aggressively orangey, it felt like being mouth mugged by a citrus grove. The weirdest thing I tried, hands down, was chicken and tamarind cotton candy floss. I still don't know whether I was eating food or applying for a dare based reality show. The flavor hovered somewhere between maybe I like this and nope, that's poultry flavored sticky air. Final verdict hard leaning toward never again, but I sort of respect its creativity. All told, the total food expense on that first experience of the Chiang Mai Saturday night market under $10. Walking is hands down my favorite way to explore. Slow, curious, and inefficient enough to feel virtuous. In Thailand, I averaged 15 kilometers a day. Some days I would stroll an easy 5. Other days I walked 25K, then hobble into a massage parlor begging for mercy and 2 hours of mint oil hand crush, not needing foot rubbing bliss. Thankfully, foot massages are as common in Thailand as Starbucks are, well, everywhere, and far more affordable. Locals in the neighborhoods where I stayed thought I was friendly and always game for a chat, but a bit off. They'd ask where I was going, as they eyed a tuk tuk or scooter cab to save me from myself. When I politely declined and patted my stomach, explaining I was trying to burn the flab because I hate crunches, they would nod and smile, but I could hear the thought behind the smile. Ah, yes, crazy American. These observations are based on the cities, because once you're out in the hinterlands, you get to where you want to go by whatever means you conjure up. I tried to use the Force, but alas, I discovered I am not a Jedi. Sometimes you just gotta hop on a bus or summon a grab. But it is only when walking deliberately yet aimlessly that you find the magic. Not the bougie city boulevards lined with global chains and knockoff luxury boutiques clawing at your wallet with special tourist prices. No, the real Thailand lives in the alleys, clean, narrow, and humming with local life. They're the backstage pass to the city's personality. One minute you were squeezing past a noodle cart, the next you were browsing hand stitched silk shirts in a shop the size of a walk in closet, next to a weed shop with a name like Thai High or Buddha Blazed. Coffee and tea joints tucked into what looks like someone's former living room, each one serving better drinks than any coffee chain on the planet. The alleys don't sell you the Thailand experience, TM. They are the experience. One narrow alley I ducked into turned was downright lovely. Yes, lovely. Lined on both sides by tall, weather worn 4-story apartment buildings, their ornate wrought iron balconies proudly displaying a colorful cast of laundry. It felt lived in the best way. Overhead, Bangkok's signature power line lunacy crisscrossed like a Pollock painting in wire, an unintentional art installation depicting modern life. At street level, it was all action: tiny shops, hole in the wall eateries, and locals doing what locals do. I had wandered down Sukhumvit 21 because one of the front desk guys at the place I was staying gave an impassioned, borderline romance recommendation, an Indian joint he swore was the best in Bangkok. But what I found directly across the alley from it, even better. High Tea by Pickaboo was a lurid dreamscape of whimsy and storybook delirium. Adorable, creative, and piratically perfect in every way. The facade was a riot of flowing vines, hanging plants, and 4 giant upright book spines that formed the doorframe, each painted to look like something looted from a dusty British manor library. The actual door? Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express and other Hercule Poirot, Poirot mysteries. 3 exaggerated keyhole windows, a nod to Alice in Wonderland, peer outward while the interior exploded with murals from Peter Pan, Travels, and various other escapist dreams. A teenager sized purple rabbit clutching a pocket watch guards the entrance, a Lewis Carroll bouncer, and a black and white zigzag floor straight out of Twin Peaks cut through the fantasy with enough edge to keep things even weirder. Even the stair risers were painted like classic book spines, because apparently nothing is safe from a literary makeover. Honestly, if the tea had been terrible, I wouldn't have cared. Places like that earned their keep on charm alone. As it turned out, their tea and snacks were as top notch as their design obsession. That's why you wander down alleys. I went back 2 nights later for more tea, then to Hinata Izakaya, a casual Japanese pub with a million small food options and lots of sake, 2 doors down. And that is just one of thousands of alleys. each with their own unique combo of weird awesomeness. In Bangkok, my method was simple: pick a random station, either subway or SkyTrain, out on the edge of the transit map, somewhere that sounded unfamiliar. Download the route to my phone, hop on the BTS or MRT, and ride until the tourists thinned out and the city started getting local. Then I'd stroll back. It was urban exploration meets cardio, with a high likelihood of getting semi lost. More than once I turned in slow, confused circles like a dog trying to lie down in a too small bed, hoping as a last resort that my phone would magically orient me. That strategy required an early start, which meant joining the Bangkok commuter rush, shoulder to shoulder, packed tight as could be. Back in my San Francisco days, we commuters read the San Francisco Chronicle, a fine newspaper if ever there was one. The tall four-panel fold mastered so perfectly it looked choreographed. We would read headlines and columns, hold a coffee, our briefcases safely stashed between our feet, and swing around turns without stabbing anyone in the face. These days, glowing rectangles dominate. Phones, tablets, e readers all cast blue light on expressionless faces. The historic smell of ink and newsprint has vanished, replaced with battery heat and the quiet anxiety of doom scrolling and Candy Crush losses. Comfortable, sturdy, well made flip flops are all you really need to conquer the cities, towns, and even countryside of Thailand. I swear by the high end leather ones. I am partial to Oluke. They are durable as hell, stylish enough to pass for advanced smart casual, and built to survive a monsoon, a street noodle spill, an impromptu hike, or 25K in a day. They're the Swiss Army knife of footwear. Plus, when it's sweltering outside, read always, you'll want that airflow. Every watt requires bare feet to enter shrines and surrounding buildings. And sneakers? Sneakers are the devil's device in this context. I've watched tourists contorting like drunk yogis, balancing on one foot while they perform the ritual of the double bunny ear. Meanwhile, I'm already inside, flops off, snapping photos of a 30-foot gold Buddha and taking time for a little triple gem prayer. If walking isn't your jam, fear not. Bangkok's transportation menu is as endless as it is eclectic. You've got multiple forms of buses: the subway, MRT, the SkyTrain, BTS, enough water taxis to make Venice blush, everything from picturesque, fast, and noisy longtail boats that are all captained by pirates, to sleek ferries that keep a tight schedule on the city's main rivers and canals. Tuk tuks, often brightly painted, buzz by like hornets. Songtheos, utilitarian red trucks with benches in the back, shuttle locals and the brave-hearted alike. You can hail a cab, grab a grab, Thailand's Uber, but cheaper and friendlier, or hop on the back of a scooter taxi and let someone else risk your life for you. Bicycles? Sure, if you're feeling bold and invincible. You can also hire a private driver through a half dozen apps, and if you hit it off, they'll drop their number into WhatsApp like a Tinder match with a Toyota. They will take you anywhere you want for a fair price and a good laugh. But if you stick to transport alone, you're just getting from A to B. And in between is where the weird, wonderful stuff is hiding. It's always halfway down that alley you didn't take. One genuinely useful tip, yes, this one is actually useful and not just drink bottled water, is about electricity. Thailand has figured out the universal wall socket. Their outlets are the ultimate in power delivery. They'll accept any plug configuration you throw at them: US, UK, EU, OZ, and you name it. As long as your device's power brick says something like 110 volt to 230 volt, it's the fine print you ignore until your phone catches fire, you're good to go. No adapter necessary. Hair dryers and electric razors remain the divas of the electronics world. Those tend to fry faster than a spring roll in boiling oil, so proceed with caution or just use the hotels. Still, it is not a bad idea to carry an adapter for peace of mind. But in practice, I didn't need one in Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, or even on the far flung island of Ko Chang. Even my monastery deep in the Thai backwoods where geckos ran the place had sockets to juice up my laptop.